Let me introduce myself a little bit more before I start talking and rambling about technology. I started in technology back in 1999, mobile technology. That's even before there was a mobile internet. That's 15 years ago. I started at a company, I don't know if you know Nokia. Does anybody know Nokia? Does anybody have a Nokia? Does anybody dare to say they have a Nokia? Yeah? Good fans. I love it. So I learned a lot. The infrastructure layers. I worked KPN, which is an operator. I started my own company, Layer. Currently, I have a company called Legendary. It's an innovation studio. I help creative teams with the development of innovation. And I call myself an innovation producer. This is my studio. And one of the things I did, for example, is I helped a logistics company to work with Google Glass. They do order picking. They are an e-fulfillment company. And they used to get their orders, the people that work in the warehouse, on paper. And we kind of send them to a Google Glass. So they had their hands free. And that reduced the amount of faults by 12%. And the speed increased by 15%. Another thing I'm doing is, for example, for ABN AMRO Bank. I'm developing a very innovative way to pay. And that's what you do is just, we have developed an ABN AMRO coin. You can also dance. Everybody want to dance? We developed a coin called the Inno coin, and people at the headquarters of ABN AMRO can now pay just by swiping a coin from their screen, and then it drops into an iPad, and then you pay it, and it says thank you with your name, etc. And we went even further. We integrated a Bitcoin wallet on a Google Glass. So you just scan a QR code, nod twice, and you paid. And people made then Parkinson jokes and stuff, but we all took care of these kind of things, really. One of the crazy things I did recently is, what I'm wearing here is the Epson Moverio BT200. It's an augmented reality glass, so it's see-through, I can look through it, but it also has digital information in front of me. And I'm now, with that glass, I'm connected to a drone that's flying above me, that has a camera that's pointing at me. So I'm looking at the drone, I'm seeing the drone, but I'm also seeing what the drone is seeing. So I like to do these kinds of experiments and just see what happens. What happens if I do this, connect these things together?
A mirror is simpler.
A mirror is simpler, yeah, but holding a mirror that high, I don't have these long arms. I wish I had these long arms, that would be extending arms. There you go. Next week. But for those that don't know Layer, it's a company I started in 2009. It had more than 40 million downloads, an app, and we secured more than 12.5 million euros in funding. And I just have a little video showing you what we made back in 2009-10. So, and the first version of Layer we built in 2 months, and we launched. So we didn't have anything as a company. we had a PowerPoint, and we tried to convince a couple of companies to make such a layer or such an experience for our app and to pay us 10,000 euros, and they did. And within 2 months we built it. I built it with a guy in China that didn't dare to speak English but could write it. So I Skyped with him and he chatted back. And a guy in India, and I sent him PowerPoints what to build, etc. And in 2 months we did it, and in 3 months we were in the New York Times. Maybe as an example of how fast things can go. Yeah, so what's the talk about? The problem is with technology, there's so much, and I tried to make it a linear story, and I failed. So I just used the alphabet. I said, okay, I'm going to make a tech alphabet. I'm going to use that as a kind of a linear guidance, but all the different technologies, they somehow relate to each other, but I allow you to kind of make those connections between those things. But first, a disclaimer. I think that's appropriate, right, in this context? It's going to change your world, what you're going to hear. So, let's start with the first. Oh, wow. Do I do anything wrong? Yep. Okay, letter A. I chose Alibaba. You guys know Alibaba? Who knows Alibaba? I think it's a revolution. The fact that a website can connect us so easily to China these days. It's a critical component to enable individuals to build stuff. I'm working currently on a smart bracelet. I have an idea about that. I go to Alibaba, and within 24 hours I have 5 factories I am discussing about how to make this bracelet, and they're giving me quotes and ideas, and I can select them, I can see reviews. It's amazing. So in that sense, I think Alibaba, as a way to directly connect to places of production, is unique. The B, it's one of my favorite currently. Can anyone guess? I used the word already. Yay! Bitcoin. Bitcoin is currently a little bit in a difficult phase, right? Because you all know. Do you guys know the Gartner hype cycle? Yeah. I wrote that hype cycle with layer. Augmented reality was the future, and then it kind of crashed. Bitcoin is now in this low point and tries to work itself out. I'm currently developing some stuff, but the architecture behind Bitcoin is really going to change things. The fact that we have a peer-to-peer connection and we don't need a central infrastructure like a bank to connect each other and to do transactions and to have kind of a ledger in which everything is mutually agreed, everybody in the network, is unique. So every transaction that happens within Bitcoin, everybody agrees that that transaction happened. And we don't need a central authority to tell us so. That makes Bitcoin, I think, very unique. What we did with Bitcoin, I'm going to show you a little clip of Ease, the company I talked about with Nodding, and Google Glass.
We are always close to the information we need. The entire world is at our fingertips. And we are always close to people we care about. Technology helps us. It's tailored to our wishes, removing friction instead of adding it, so we can spend less time on the things we don't like, and more time on things important to us. Ease makes it, well, easy to pay, for big, everyday, or those special purchases. And Ease makes accepting payments just as easy. Enjoy life, take it easy, use Ease. We make payments frictionless, using cutting-edge technologies that are available to us now, starting with Nod to Pay, using bitcoins and glass to enable payments hands-free. Ease, looking forward.
So we launched this product, and it's of course a great market we are currently serving. Everybody with the Google Glass and a Bitcoin wallet. Who has a Google Glass? Who has a Bitcoin wallet? Okay. How long do you have a Bitcoin wallet? That's good. The next one. So, but the fun part is I just met someone who's involved in Bitcoin, and I'm involved in wearable technology and mobile phones. And I said, and we're both frustrated by how we pay. I said, okay, how can we make it simpler? How can we make it really, really simple? And the problem arose with me is the moment I had a Google Glass, and I went to this cafeteria, and I bought a sandwich and an apple juice. So I bought a sandwich and an apple juice, and then he said €7.50. So I was already used that I don't need to pick up my mobile phone anymore, right? Because I can do a lot with Google Glass. But I had to put these things down, get my wallet, pull my card out, put it in, PIN code, receipt, waiting, the whole ritual, thank you, bye-bye. And I said, it's so outdated. And then I said, okay, let's just make it modern. So you see a lot of these technologies popping up now, kind of transforming customer processes and rituals with new technology. One of another example, for example, you now have an app with Starbucks. You can enter Starbucks, and Starbucks already knows you are entering the location. You automatically check in at Starbucks. They know what your favorite drink is. They make it already. You just pick it up at the counter and walk away again. You don't even have to pay it. It's kind of booked. It's completely changing the whole retail process. So now we get a little bit to a crazy one. See, if one of you gets this, man, I'm gonna buy you a bottle of champagne. So, see, anyone?
Champagne.
Oh, that would be nice, man. It's computer. Anybody heard of a computer? It's a 3D printer that makes pills. A guy at MIT developed this. So I was talking at a big pharmacy company, and they were strong with innovation, and they said, yeah, we have these patents and R&D, and they make these things, and we think it's for some diseases and can be used here, and then we try to kind of sell it in, and then we have the doctors, and then we kind of etc. And then these doctors need to go to these holiday destinations where we party, and then they buy our stuff. So they have this whole kind of value chain and process in place. And then I told them about this thing, where in the future people just share recipes together and try things out, and maybe they fail, maybe they die. Sorry, wrong recipe. This one works. Yeah. But there's this whole open community where people just share pill recipes. They put in raw material, they press print, and they have a pill. And I was just, oh shit. But that's just such an interesting innovation that you can kind of build something on top of the whole infrastructure without needing that central R&D lab distribution network which is there. So, D. It's also a nice one. I will not teach you every damn with it. I will just tell you. It's called the Dash. The Dash. It's a product from Amazon. So in the US, Amazon is also a supermarket. And they developed a piece of hardware. It's on your kitchen table. And when your peanut butter is empty, you just scan the peanut butter. Or you just say peanut butter, and it's added to your grocery list. And then you put the thing back on your table. What I find so interesting here is that you have this brand which is virtual somewhere on the internet, and then decides, okay, I'm gonna go out of the internet into your living room and say, I'm gonna sit on your kitchen table right here with a camera and a microphone. I find that fascinating. I find it fascinating that these brands step out of the window, take up a physical manifestation, and try to serve you somewhere in a certain relevant area. Nike with a bracelet, maybe, or maybe in the future, these pharmacy companies develop a bracelet that kind of tracks my health and they become preventive. I don't know. But there are a lot of crazy hardware mutants going on currently. All these kinds of crazy hardware, and we will see a couple of more in a moment. Then E. eBay. Could have been eBay, but it's old economy. It's emotive. And they made a little device that you put on your head and it tracks your brainwaves. And these things used to cost hundreds of thousands of euros. And now you can go to a website and order them for a couple of $100. And what you can do with kind of these sensors, just like this dash had a microphone as a sensor and a camera to scan a barcode as a sensor, this one has these connection points that senses your brainwaves. So sensors are going to be huge. And by sensing your brainwaves, you can do all kinds of funny things. And I have a little video showing you what you can do once you start kind of using that technology.
Hi, I'm Phil. And I'm Worley, and we're here to show you the follow-on to the Board of Awesomeness, the Board of Imagination, which instead of being powered by a Kinect, is powered by this emotive headset. Phil, you want to tell them how it works?
Let's just start with the board from the top in case you missed our wonderful Board of Awesomeness. We actually have the brains behind this, the Samsung tablet running Windows 8 Developer Preview. We actually have our USB cable that runs up underneath where we connect in with our wireless transmitter for our headset. It detects your brainwaves. It actually figures out where you want to go. You imagine yourself being there, and it actually takes you forward.
Piloting the board is pretty simple. It's actually a lot easier than our first version. What you do is you take the emotive headset, and once you've made sure that the contacts are moist, you simply put it on your head, adjust it right above your ears, make sure all of the contacts are in the right position, and then it starts picking up the signals from your brain. So that's how you make it go. So basically what I'm doing is imagining a point in the future, getting closer, and then stopping.
Pretty cool. Who wants something like that? So in 5 years we will all have one. Our kids will. I find it fascinating that these people just kind of connect things together. Like, can we kind of have a headset and we have the skateboard, so we kind of try to kind of put it together? That's a lot of innovation. Just, okay, can we kind of get these things together? F, this one you're gonna know. Oh, it's Facebook. Everybody's using it. I think Facebook is kind of near death. Not all creation people. Some things need to die as well. It's part of the cycle of life. There's a Facebook exodus going on, especially in youth. Facebook starts to become not credible anymore. Their timeline, the gold kind of waterfall they have, is in heart attack. You know, it's slipping. It's too much information that needs to go through a timeline. And they can't make it relevant anymore. So they have huge issues, and it's very logical. One of the things also I'm seeing is that people are starting to delete Facebook, Twitter, email from their mobile phones. So we all say on the one side, mobile first. So people also say, yeah, mobile first, but not this crap. I can't handle these notifications anymore. Too much email. I'm becoming a junkie. Pushing refresh, do people like my stuff, etc., etc., etc. So I'm 15 years in mobile, right? I used mobile internet before there was mobile internet. That's not true. Couldn't be that. But I deleted them as well. 3 weeks ago I deleted Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and email, but I put email back. I couldn't do without email. So. But Facebook, etc., I stopped it. It was getting too addictive. I think it will be a trend. I think the mobile phone will move towards something as more of a tool with sensors and contextual services that depend on your context. It becomes smarter, actually smarter, instead of a delivery device for content. So context is going to be an important word for mobile technology. And then, of course, it's you're a little bit right. It's Glass. It's Google Glass. So Google started something, right? It's one of these internet companies on that side that's kind of tried to come out of the screen and says, hey, look, I am now a piece of hardware on your nose. They tried it, and what they saw, it's a nice experiment, but they can't pull it off. It's too much for now. We're not ready. So for me, Google Glass is going to be there in 5 years' time, but not the coming years. So I dreamt of things like Google Glass, right? With companies Layer, we saw a future of augmented reality and people with contact lenses and stuff, and we thought, and the fact that Google dared to do this, we were kind of excited about it. But now you also see that Google is making some kind of retreat movement, like, okay, yeah, it's just an experiment. Okay, yeah, just play around with it, but it's just an experiment. So they don't make any very strategic decisions about it, and that's why I think it's gonna probably die a little bit, but it's coming back in a different form and shape. Home. The home is gonna change also the coming years. I think have you guys seen the smart thermostat in the Netherlands that's been launched? Who's from the Netherlands here, by the way? Okay. Why am I speaking English? Sorry, just kidding. Smart thermostats. Talking about sensors again. Nest is a company bought by Google. So it's another physical form Google is manifesting itself in. Okay, now I'm on your wall and I have a temperature sensor. I have a movement sensor, so I know when you're home. And it's probably going to have a microphone. So say, okay, Nest, and then you can say something to it. For example, how are my kids doing, Nest? I think there's going to be a lot of exciting things around smart home and new services and new sensors and new companies. A lot of traditional energy companies are trying to make smart thermostats. Probably we're going to see something new. Something that's detached, literally detached from the infrastructure. Nest is such a company. They don't have heavy infrastructure. They can focus on the distribution and the service layer of just this thermostat. They don't worry about the whole infrastructure of energy. Then it's, I think, probably the most important one, and that's gonna change the most, and I hope we reach it in 5 years, and that's intelligence. So if you have all these sensors everywhere, and all these physical manifestations of these sensors and new pieces of hardware that try to understand what's going on and try to be relevant and do the right services and be the right temperature, so they're all trying their best, but you need some kind of intelligence, right? Algorithms, self-learning software that makes less and less mistakes continuously. But that's the phase we're going to. As sensors increase and more of these pieces of hardware are continuously busy trying to be relevant for us, we need an intelligence layer that can handle it. And to show you how intelligence can look in the future, I would advise you to see a movie called Her. Who saw Her? Her saw Her. Some people saw Her. So Her is a very funny movie. That's not funny. It is also funny. So this is Joaquin Phoenix. In the future, he buys a new OS system like Apple or Android. And what it is, it's just a thing in his ear. Little thing in his ear, and when he turns it on, he hears a voice, and it's the voice of Scarlett Johansson. Goosebumps. Sorry, I'm letting myself go a little bit. And Scarlett Johansson can look through this little camera as well, but she talks in a very intimate way and tries to be relevant to him continuously, but it's a piece of software. I'll show you a little teaser clip that shows a little bit how that sounds and looks like.
I feel like I can be anything with you.
I want so badly for you to be happy. But I know there's an operating system. I want to learn everything about everything. You're dating your computer?
She's not just a computer. I've been thinking how I could possibly tell you how much you mean to me. So I was thinking.
Sorry.
I'm sorry. You go first.
Rated R. Now playing in select theaters everywhere January 10th.
So I think that's very funny, right? So intelligence, I could also kind of replace it with intimacy. Both very important. Once we start to share so much personal information with our technology, our agenda, our location, the microphone is on, the camera is on, it knows our temperature, etc., etc. You need to kind of have an intimate or trusted relationship with that piece of technology. And that's why I think intimacy and intelligence are, for me, as a kind of innovator, two themes I'm kind of looking continuously at. Okay, what's happening in that space? What's happening in that space? Because something will emerge there, something new, some new shape, some new way to interact or user experience. This is one shape that could take place. I don't know, maybe it is. And interesting thing is, Google bought a company called DeepMind for $500 million. And it's this guy in England that he studied computer science and neuroscience. And then he thought, what if I combine those two? And he made a self-learning program, a little brain. And what it can do is, for example, you can give it simple instructions to do things, some rule sets, and it figures out how to play a game, for example. Like an 80s game, like Space Invaders, or one of these games. You just tell it, you can go left, you can go right, you can fire, and that's it. And you need to win. You cannot die. Or you need to have maximum points. And it starts to learn from scratch. So first time it does it, it fails miserably, it dies, and it tries all kinds of. The first hour goes wrong, and then in the second hour, it sometimes starts to win. It sees some patterns of winning, and in the third hour, it continuously wins, and in the fourth hour, it has multiple scenarios of everything the computer can do. So it's prepared for every move and has all contingency plans already ready, and it's unbeatable, unstoppable. And it outperforms everybody in anything in 4 hours. So that's self-learning software, right? And it's a crazy piece of software. It's a little bit scary. What happens if you unleash this? Terminator. I don't know. But it's coming. It's the only way, probably, how we can deal with these big chunks of data without top-down thinking of all these kind of algorithms and rule sets become relevant. So that's my rant on intelligence. Jelly.com. This is the opposite of the intelligence part. So on the one side you have these algorithms and sensors making sense of things, and then you have us humans. And for example, social search. It's the opposite of Google. You don't use, you ask your friends for answers, or your social network, or the people interested in the topic. It's about curation, so believing in people. This is made by the founders of Twitter. It's a new type of search. Could work. Oh, am I gone? Yes, this is it. Nobody moved. So for me, it's a kind of a little bit of a battle. We have the algorithms on the one side and the technology brain. Then you have this wisdom of the crowds, other side. Maybe there's no winner. Maybe they're both. There's place for both. But it's interesting to just see what are you talking to when you're talking to technology. Is it people or is it technology? Another thing I think that's going to be explosive still, it's already very big, it's Kickstarter. Who knows Kickstarter? So that's interesting that very many people. Alibaba was a lot in the news. So Kickstarter, it's a site. If I have an idea, like skateboard and an emotive headset, or a Google Glass and a Bitcoin wallet, or anything kind of combined, I go to that, show people my prototype, tell them my intentions of what I want to do with it, and ask people to kind of help me do it. And in return, they get a t-shirt or the first piece if I'm done with the production of it. So it funds initiatives. It's a platform that helps you fund initiatives. And a lot of projects fail, but some succeed. And one of the ones that succeed is the Oculus Rift. It's a virtual reality glass. And I have a little video. I'm going to show you the first part, but it shows you how people in an early stage can literally change an industry.
My name is Palmer Lucky, and I'm a virtual reality enthusiast and the designer of the Rift. Games are something I'm really passionate about, and even more than playing games, I'm passionate about bringing games to the next level. What we're doing at Oculus is trying to create the world's best virtual reality headset designed very specifically for gaming. Where this all started was in my parents' garage in Long Beach, California. And I was interested in stereoscopic displays, I was interested in head mounts, and the problem was there was nothing that gave me the experience that I wanted, the Matrix, where I could plug in and actually be in the game. And I was sure that somewhere out there was something that I could buy. And the reality is there's nothing. I set out to change that with the Oculus Rift. The magic that sets the Rift apart is immersive stereoscopic 3D rendering, a massive field of view, and ultra-low latency head tracking. John Carmack is one of the best developers in the world. Doom, Quake, Commander Keen. Carmack saw some of my work. That's originally when he reached out to me.
For a certain segment of the population, the hacker-maker crowd, this is going to be awesomely cool to work with. What I've got now is, I honestly think the best VR demo probably the world's ever seen. We're certainly going to take this into our future projects. So.
We're getting involved in Oculus now because we see an incredible opportunity.
Yeah. That is enough. So what you see here is a guy with a great name, Palmer Lucky. Isn't that a cool name? In the garage, in California, the whole stereotypes. It's real. That's his real name. Like his parents knew, I want you to become a Silicon Valley hero. I'm gonna call you Palmer. So Palmer Lucky, he got more than $2 million on Kickstarter in a month. So in a month's time, you throw this video on, you tell people you're gonna get one of these first things, but you need to give me $200 or $300, and then you get one. So 2.5 million people, or $2.5 million collected, started making prototypes, send around prototypes. Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook sees it and buys the company for $2 billion. So Palmer Lucky starts to kind of become a little bit fat already. Anyway, but that's I think Kickstarter is in combination with Alibaba. That's kind of a killer cocktail now, right? It's all major hardware innovation will come from these platforms, and all people that just want to do it. Not because there's a real market, because they just want to try it out. They want to have it solved. Next one, L, Local Motors. It's kind of the computer for cars. It's a 3D printed car. And you can just, start a local motor company here in Amsterdam, get the designs, start selling cars, and producing them. I'm going to show you a video how that looks. it's again about getting raw materials as close to people as possible and have the real production happen right at the moment they kind of verbalize their intentions or their desires. Musk, of Elon Musk, and not because of the products he does, but of the type of entrepreneur he is. So what you now also see is this new generation of entrepreneurs. They just go for things. Crazy projects, pouring in hundreds of millions of euros in projects that might fail, but might change the world. And last time I think we saw this was 200 years ago when you had these steel factories, right? People kind of just pour down a steel factory, or railroads, these big infrastructure kind of projects. So for me, these kinds of entrepreneurs are typical, and their example has been taken over by other people, and they show the same behavior, same trait, that they say, we're going to do it, we're going to go to Mars, we're going to change the world, we're going to do it, and they believe it, and actually they can. Pretty powerful. N of nanotechnology. Interesting of nanotechnology, a lot of nanotechnology can be used to listen to you and to adapt. So instead, you could say that nanotechnology is also a sensor and tries to be adaptive or changeable. So foresee in the future that when you sit down in one of these chairs, the chair adapts to you because it knows you. You've shared your identity with the chair, and the chair says, okay, you like a little bit higher or lower, it just adapts so that you sit more comfortably. We have a Dutch company which is pretty good, working very interesting field in the antibacterial area called Parts Plastics. Oh, it's the Oculus Rift. So the Oculus Rift started off as being something around gaming. But I want to give you a couple of use cases to show you what else you could do with an Oculus Rift. And one of the things I'm currently doing, I'm going to say first another example. One of the things you can do, for example, with an Oculus Rift is transport you to other locations in the world. If you, for example, have a camera somewhere that records 360-degree video, and I can connect with my Oculus Rift to that camera, and I look around, I see that video imagery completely immersed around me. So what can happen then, for example, if there is a sold-out concert of Coldplay going on right now in the Madison Square Garden, I could be on the first row if there's a 360-degree camera right there. Means that the Madison Square Garden, that has a scarcity of 20,000 seats, can expand to 500,000, a million if they want. People just log in and take place on the first row. So that's possible, for example, with the Oculus Rift, right? Start selling virtual seats. Another thing I'm doing currently, and that's with a Dutch charity. A lot of charities send celebrities to these places where things go wrong, Africa, Syria, etc. And then they show these celebrities crying because it's so bad there, and because people see that on TV, and they have more empathy for the celebrity than for the cause. But they start to understand that's probably really, really bad there if that celebrity cries. What these charities want is that you really understand what it's like to be there, but content is too far away. And you need these kind of immersive experiences to really understand it. So we're developing kind of a unit where you can stand in there. It's called a transporter. You put on the Oculus Rift, and then you have the feeling you're still in that cabin, and then the walls fall away, and you're actually somewhere at a hospital in Syria, etc. And you get a tour around and how it's there. And you have the complete freedom to look at the things you are interested in. And what this does, the big thing with Oculus Rift, normally if you are in contact with media, you see the TV screen, the magazine, the iPad, so your brain knows there is kind of a medium, and in that medium there's an experience. You're sucked into that experience, but your brain always knows there's a medium. Here it's the other way around. Your brain thinks it's reality first. Then you need to kind of work your brain back. No, it's not reality. People, if they turn on the Oculus Rift, they're really scared. But if there's a dinosaur walking there, you get really scared. You panic. You feel a lot of things happen in your stomach, right? So try it on. It's mind changing. P, it's a Dutch company called Purby. And what you can do there is you can share things. Currently, you need to buy things for your lawnmower and stuff. At Purby, you just go there. You say, does anybody in my neighborhood have a lawnmower I could borrow? And so somebody says, yeah, sure, 10 euros, come pick it up. So it's about sharing. You don't need to own everything. You just need to have access. Another one, Q, quantified self. Anybody heard this term before? Quantified self? It's personal data. It's personal data which you use for all kinds of uses. It could be health, sports, etc. But you can also use it to help you raise your baby or be a better parent. There are these things like this, the Sproutling or the Smart Rompetje or Smart Onesie of Intel. And it's a thing you connect to your baby, and it has all kinds of sensors on it. It has movement sensor, so is your baby on its stomach, on its back, temperature, breathing, sound, etc. And if one of those sensors goes off, parents get an alert or a notification. I'm gonna bet you that a lot of babies gonna have some kind of sensor thing the moment they get born.
Will it stop them crying?
Maybe, if you have that intelligence part there, right? That you have kind of starts to sing and the light starts blinking. Your Nest starts to kind of do things with the Philips Hue light starts to kind of, and all kinds of things can happen. I don't know. Well, that gets us also to an interesting thing, which is robots. It's gonna be a topic, people. We're gonna go there. It's finally there. All the technology components are in place. We have the intelligence layer. We have driverless cars. Google bought a company called Boston Dynamics, which actually builds this thing. It's gonna happen. And I expect that coming 5 years, we will start to interact with robots. The big question is, if they do something, are they responsible for it? And do we give them a fine? How does it work? So what I'm currently doing, I'm starting a temp agency for robots, drones, and software bots. Yeah, in a couple of months I'm going to launch it. And there are a lot of robots currently. There are in attics, in research labs. And I'm going to connect them to actual tasks people need to be done. It's kind of an Airbnb for robots. And I think that's the phase we are currently in. We need to kind of start finding use cases, get those robots out of the attics and out of the R&D labs and connect them with our streets. And this can be used for security, cleaning, entertainment, I don't know what. We will find out. This is kind of a wild card, I would say. Swatch. I think Swatch, that's my personal belief, I'm gonna, is it 5 minutes? Cool. Probably gonna kill the market for smartwatches. I expect a lot from Swatch coming years, and I think they can make it probably. That's just a guess. I need to move on. T, Telspec. It's actually a laser you can point to your food and it reads the amount of calories and gives you feedback. Uber, we all know Uber of course and all the things that happens. Interesting thing is, if you start using driverless cars and Uber, it really becomes interesting. Just think about that. It's not about the drivers. Vincent, it's a Dutch application. I help these guys. They actually make a white label TV app. So everybody can start at TV stations and etc. W is for Revolver, and what you can do here is share your projects. For example, making a robot is really complex. You can do that all in your R&D lab, or you can just ask the community to help you build it. Here you see one of those robots. It's the InMove. It's completely open source, and thousands of people are participating to create this robot. And you can work on its face, on its features, its hands, in its intelligence, joints, muscles, anything that's needed. X this was a difficult one. I cheated a little bit. Exoskeletons. You start to see a lot of, I'm starting to see a lot of videos now of actual products that can help people in construction, rehabilitation, that kind of supports them to move again. And it's again hardware that tries to understand your intentions through sensors and then helps you accomplish your tasks. So, why is Yahoo? Yahoo because I think it's the canary in the coal mine for the internet. Yahoo lives on advertising, and as we all move to mobile and smart, intelligent things that kind of are being relevant, and it's about services, and these destinations are only being visited by software bots, etc. I think if Yahoo fails, I think it's the start of a whole pyramid of destination sites that will suffer, and the whole post-advertising age starts. And I think that's about 5 years from now, that actually advertising will not be the main revenue driver anymore on the internet. Z-axis, 3D printing, also a little bit of a cheat. We see a lot of home printing, 3D printing. I don't expect that to really take off. Healthcare is a very big market. I expect a lot of. And so don't expect everybody home to have a 3D printer. That's my main message. And then I have a bonus. Yeah, I couldn't. I'm still in there. And that's encryption. I think encryption is going to be a really great product. And I see. So yeah, it's a unique selling point actually. So I would invest a lot in encryption. And that's it. Thank you very much.